What's up, YouTube? Thomas O here. With Catch 22 out now on Hulu, I decided to do my top 10 favorite George Clooney movies. He's been around for a while, actually for a long time. He got his big break on the TV show ER, and since then he's been doing loads of interesting movies, and he's directed lots of interesting stuff. So, that being said, here's my 10 favorite Clooney movies. Coming in at number 10 is the political film The Ides of March. And this movie is actually directed by George Clooney. And in it, Ohio's Democratic primary is near, and you got the charming government, Mike Morris, played by George Clooney, who seems like a shoe-in for the nomination over his opponent, who is Sen Paulman, played by Michael Mattel. So, like Morris's press secretary, Stephen Myers, played by Ryan Gosling, believes in his candidates and the democratic process. So, mayors ended up being with Paulman's campaign manager, including the manager is played by Paul Giamatti, and you also got a young intern here played by Evan Rachel Wood, who ends up pretty much falling for Ryan Gosling's character because lots of females falls in love with Ryan Gosling. And you got a few other good cast members. That's like you got the late great Philip Seymour Hoffman. Ryan Gosling was really great here. Marissa Tomei was in this. Jeffrey Wright, Max Minghella. Really good cast members. The movie got released in 2011. Boy, it's been that long since this film's got released. Anyway, it's a really interesting political film, and George Clooney does politics pretty well and all, and him as the government he played that role pretty well. He gave, I really liked his chemistry with Ryan Gosling, like those two worked together really well in this. It's a really decent film. It wasn't like great, nothing like that, but it was still pretty decent. Although it was very too political, but hey, that's the premise of the movie. It has to be political. Anyway, coming in at number 9 is One Fine Day. In this, you got Michelle Pfeiffer, who plays a character named Melanie Parker, who's like an architect who needs to give a very important presentation. And you got George Clooney as a character named Jack, who is a reporter looking to land a big scoop for his story. And they both are single parents, and whose children played by Alex D. Linz and Mia Whitman, who pretty much respectfully missed the bus for a field trip, and their parents ends up falling for each other. And there's like sparks flies between Clooney and Pfeiffer. It's a really cute little romance film. I really like the chemistry between George Clooney and Michelle Pfeiffer. They also play the parents pretty well here. Alex D. Linz and a very young Mia Whitman, like way before she did the Duff for Parenthood or Good Girls. I can't remember how old she was when she did this film, but she was really good here. And also Alex D. Linz, by the way, if you guys don't know who he is, he starred on that film Max Keeble's Big Move, and he was in Home Alone 3. He was really great here. Like, where we don't really see that kid anymore, because he, like, back in the late 90s and early 2000s, he was in a lot of stuff, like Max Keeble's Big Move, One Fine Day. Sad to say that he hasn't really done anything else lately, but anyway, yeah, One Fine Day is a really nice little romance film. If you guys never seen it, give it a go. It's really decent. Alright. Coming in at number 8 is Money Monster. Now, this movie was directed by Jodie Foster, and in it you got George Clooney as a Wall Street guru named Lee Gates, who pretty much is the host of a television show called Money Monster. And so, like, suddenly during a live broadcast, you got a disgruntled investor named Kyle Budwell, played by Jack O'Connell, storms onto the set and takes Gates hostage. And like he ends up telling Lee that he lost everything on one of his tips. So he's trying to figure out a way to give, like, maybe give him money so that way he'll go, and it's really a good film. I mean, it was really intense. George Clooney was terrific. You got Julia Roberts as one of the producers in this. She was great. I really like Jack O'Connor. I mean, I wish he was kind of a bigger star. And I mean, ever since Unbroken came out, sad to say he hasn't really hit that A-list status yet. Shame too, because he's a really good actor. And I mean, what he did to Gates was not so great. I mean, he took the poor guy hostage, and Dren. But really, the guy, the character, kind of had a little bit of heart. Like, you can't really help but respect the guy. All he's trying to do is get some money and fend for himself, and there's some scenes with him and his wife, ex-wife or whatever, who's he's trying to support the kid and wife as well, but he can't. So yeah, it's a really good film. I mean, it's George Clooney. His character is, I guess you say, a bit like Donald Trump in a way. I'm not gonna get you political in this video, but just because how money greedy he is and stuff like that. And I thought George Clooney really played that role really perfectly, and it's a really good film. Joe Foster did a great job at directing. The movie got released in 2016, and too bad the film didn't really get talked about a whole lot since its release. But it's a really decent film. I mean, it has a really good cast too. Jack O'Connor was great. You also had the aforementioned Julia Roberts was great here. Let's see. Dominic West was pretty good. Giancarlo Esposito. Catriona Balfe from Outlander fame was pretty good here. Some really good cast members. If you guys never seen Money Monster, there are some political aspects to this too, but it's really good. I mean, check out the film if you guys have never seen it. Coming in at number 7 is the Steven Soderbergh film Out of Sight. Now, in this, George Clooney plays a character named Jack Foley, who's the most successful bank robber in the country. So, on the day he busts out of jail and he finds himself stealing something far more precious than money, and he ends up stealing a woman named Karen Sisko's heart. And Karen, by the way, is played by Jennifer Lopez. And they're willing to risk it or to find out if there's more between them than just the law and all. This movie is part heist and part romance, and it's pretty good. I haven't seen this movie for a while, but I remember really enjoying when I first saw it. The chemistry between George Clooney and Jennifer Lopez were both great in this. You also had a few other good cast members, you had Don Cheadle was in this film. Albert Brooks was in this. You also had Ving Rhames, Steve Zahn, Dennis Farina, Isaiah Washington, Catherine Keener was in this. Viola Davis was pretty good. And this romance between both Clooney and Lopez, they're like I said, they the romance sparked really well between the two. They did not date in real life, of course, but I mean, it felt like they really actually dated in real life, just because how good their chemistry was on screen. And this was also one of Jennifer Lopez's earliest roles. Of course, before this, she just got done with Selena, and then of course, Jennifer Lopez is a big music superstar, but she could really do great when it comes to films. And this is also probably one of her better roles in from the 90s. Maybe right next to Selena, but anyway. Yeah, the movie was, like I said, was directed by Steven Soderbergh, who George Clooney worked with a whole lot of times before. And this was a pretty good film, I really enjoyed it. And if you guys never seen Out of Sight, give it a go. It's also based on a book by Elmore Leonard, who also, I believe, wrote this, was one of the screenwriters as well. Really good heist thriller. Alright, coming in at number 6 is Good Night and Good Luck. Now, in this, you got George Clooney as as a producer named Fred Friendly, and in it, Senator Joseph McCartney begins his full-heartedly campaign to root out communists in the U.S. And you got CBS News impresario named Edward R. Morrow, played by David Shafarin, who dedicates himself to exposing and being committed to McCartney's Senate investigation about, and his supported by the news team that of course includes the aforementioned Fred Friendly, played by George Clooney. And this is of course based on a true story. George Clooney also directed this film as well. He could be a pretty good director when he wants to. Maybe not lately, but he's a pretty decent director once in a while. And the film was full on black and white, and it had a really cool cast. Besides Clooney and Shafarin, you also had Robert Downey Jr., Patricia Clarkson was in this, Frank Langella, Jeff Daniels was in this, Ray Wise. Some really good cast members, and George Clooney, I believe he scored a couple of Oscar nominations for this, well deserved. I believe also the movie scored a Best Picture nomination as well, pretty well deserving as well. But yeah, if you guys haven't seen Good Night, Good Luck, it's a pretty cool true story film. Crazy that this stuff really happened in real life. Yeah, it's a really decent film, and of course it has that classic line, "Good night, good luck." I cannot say that line in his voice, but it's a pretty decent film. Alright, coming in at number 5 is Up in the Air. Now, this movie was directed by Jason Reitman, and in it you got Anna Kendrick as a new co-worker who will put an end to the constant travel of corporate downsizing named Ryan Bingman, played by George Clooney, who he ends up taking her on tour to demonstrate the importance of face-to-face meetings with those that they must fire or not. The whole movie actually takes place actually in an airport more than an airplane. And it had a pretty good cast. You had Vera Farmiga in this, who George Clooney ends up, falling for. You also had J.K. Simmons was in this film. Jason Bateman, lots of people that Jason Reitman worked with were in this. You also had Sam Elliott, Zach Galifianakis, Danny McBride was in this, Melanie Lynskey, Amy Morin, Ashton Kutcher was even in this, Young MC. Some pretty good cast members. The movie was pretty funny. It was charming at times. Good chemistry with Clooney, with Vera Farmiga. A pretty good little film. Check it out if you guys haven't seen it. It's really good. Alright, coming in at number 4 is actually the first movie that George Clooney ever directed, and that is Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. Now, the film is about game show television producer Chuck Barris, played by Sam Rockwell, who at the height of his career, he created the dating game and the Gong Show and stuff like that. But what the public and industry big wigs are aware of is that Chuck Barris is also a covert assassin, and he worked for the CIA and claims to have killed 33 people. And George Clooney stars as the CIA agent Jim Barrett, who is trying to who's pretty much trying to investigate him. And the movie isn't based on a true story, but it's kind of more of a fictional aspect. And it had a really good cast too. George Clooney stacked a really interesting cast for this film. Julia Roberts was in this. Matt Damon appeared in this. Of course, Sam Rockwell played the lead Chuck Barris. The original Chuck Barris was in this. You also had Drew Barrymore, Brad Pitt, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Dick Clark was even in this, Micah Cera. Some really good cast members were featured here. It's a really cool, spy film worth checking out. Good performances by Rockwell. I mean, he was great as Chuck Barris. George Clooney as the CIA agent was really great. Interesting spy film. kind of an underrated one. Like I don't really hear many people talking about Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, but it's really good. Okay. Coming in at number 3 is From Dusk Till Dawn. Now this was actually, I guess you could say this was like George Clooney's breakout film. I mean, he's done like films before this, but this was like his big breakout into feature film stardom. And it was, of course, a vampire movie directed by Robert Rodriguez. You had Quentin Tarantino in this. Juliette Lewis was in this film. Harvey Keitel. Salma Hayek. I mean, one of the most iconic Salma Hayek moments. I mean, like in it, on the run from a bank robbery that left several police officers dead. Seth Grieco and brother. His brother, by the way, is played by Quentin Tarantino. Hightailed to the Mexican bar and kidnaps a preacher, Jacob Fuller, played by Harvey Keitel, as well as his kids, one of which is played by young Juliette Lewis. And so, like, the criminals end up sneaking across the border in the family's RV, and they end up going to a topless bar. But fortunately, the bar also is a home of vampires, and the brothers are like and their hostage have to fight their way out from survival and all. Salma Hayek is, of course, one of the vampires here, and maybe one of the most hottest vampires ever. You also had Danny Trejo. Cheech Marin was in this film. This is loads of fun. It's the first From Dusk Till Dawn is great, but then they also did like sequels, which were kind of terrible. But George Clooney, I mean, at times he, of course, was the bad guy, but then he, I guess, if you want to look at it, he ended up becoming a hero throughout the whole film as well. And Harvey Keitel was really cool here. It's a really fun horror comedy. Like, it's not really much of a comedy, but it's full-on horror. It's bloody. It's cool. Like, lots of violence in this. Really awesome film. And if you guys never seen From Dusk Till Dawn, it got released in 1996. Yeah, 1996. It's loads of fun. It's probably one of my favorite Rodriguez movies as well. It's really cool. It's such a really cool vampire film, and one of these days I'm probably going to do my 10 favorite vampire movies, and of course From Dusk Till Dawn will end up being in that list because it's a really fun vampire flick. Alright, my number 2 favorite George Clooney movie is Ocean's 11. Now here you got George Clooney as Robert Danny Ocean, who's like less than 24 hours into his parole from a New Jersey penitentiary. So like he ends up robbing a casino for his next heist, and of course he hires a few other people, including characters played by Matt Damon, by Brad Pitt. Don Cheadle's also in this. The late great Bernie Mac was in this. Casey Affleck was even in this film as well. Now, of course, George Clooney reprised his role as Danny Ocean a couple of other times in Ocean's 12 and Ocean's 13, but he did not reprise his role in Ocean's 8. But in Ocean's 8, Danny Ocean's, the lead character in that is Danny Ocean's sister, who was played by Sandra Bullock. And, yeah, I really enjoyed the Ocean movies, including the female one, by the way. But, George Clooney, I really liked him as Danny Ocean. The movie was actually a remake of a 1960s film with Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and the Frat Pack back in the days. These Ocean movies, they're just really fun to watch. They're like pure heist films. The whole movie is, of course, set in Vegas, which is always cool to see films do. And this was also like a Frat Pack film, if you want to look at it. Like George Clooney and Matt Damon and Brad Pitt, they were kind of like this generation's Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and Sammy Davis Jr. I guess you could really call them the new generation of Frat Pack. They both, like, all three of them have worked together in other films as well, but they worked really great here. Like, they all had good chemistry with one another. and they had good chemistry with the other cast too. Bernie Mac was good. I mean, you had Scott Conn, Julia Roberts was great in this. The awesome Carl Reiner was good. Such a really cool heist movie. I mean, if you guys never seen any of the Ocean movies, give them a go. I think you'll enjoy them. All right, now what movie is better than Ocean's 11 and From Dusk Till Dawn and all of them? My number one favorite George Clooney movie is actually more of a modern one, really. But this is actually one of my favorite movies of 2011. The movie that I think should have actually won the Oscars over The Artist. My number one favorite George Clooney movie is The Descendants. Not to be confused with that Disney Channel movie, Descendants. This film is called The Descendants. And the movie is directed by the awesome Alexander Payne, who did a great job at directing this movie. And in it, George Clooney plays a guy named Matt King, who lives with his family in Hawaii. And his character's wife, tragically dies in an accident, and she dies at the end. Spoiler. But before that, his wife is in a coma, and so he also ends up finding that his wife actually ended up having an affair with another guy played by the awesome Matthew Lillard, who was great in this. And Matthew Lillard's character, he has a wife played by Judy Greer, and they find out what's going on, and it's really amazing. Shailene Woodley, before she did Divergent and Fault in Our Stars, this was her, not film debut, but it was her breakout film role. The one who plays Shailene little sister was really good here. The one who played the boyfriend was good. Really amazing movie. I mean, George Clooney, he played the dad role really well here. He worked great with his on-screen kids. This moment with his wife in the emergency room, that will leave you to tears. Such a well put together film, such a great script. It's a movie about heartbreak, about loss, about family, and such a really fantastic movie. This movie, like I said, it's actually in my top 10 favorite movies of 2011. It's that great of a film. I mean, the movie actually, it got an Oscar nomination for Best Picture, but it lost out against The Artist, which I'm in. The Artist was a good film, but The Descendants was a better flick. It's that great movie. I mean, I think it's one of Clooney's best performance in years. I mean, he's done lots of movies before The Descendants, but his recent stuff, if I could do my favorite Clooney performances, The Descendants would definitely be on that list. He's really that great in this film. And if you guys never seen The Descendants by now, I'll say give it a go. I think you'll enjoy it. But anyway, that's pretty much it. Let me do the quick rundown. Number 10, The Eyes of March. 9, One Fine Day. 8, Money Monster. 7, Out of Sight. 6, Good Night and Good Luck. 5, Up in the Air. 4, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. 3, From Dusk Till Dawn. 2, Ocean's 11. 1, The Descendants. Now, George Clooney has done loads of other stuff here and there. Let me pull up his credit list. Now, his recent directing films has not been good. He directed The Monuments Men and Suburbicon. They both were terrible. I mean, I'm hoping George Clooney directs another film that's better than those two. His last directed movie that was really good and worth watching was The Eyes of March and Good Night and Good Luck and Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, but his recent directing credits has not all been that great. Other stuff he's been in, let's see. The aforementioned ER. That's, of course, a TV show. Let's see. Of course, he was in Return of the Killer Tomatoes. I mean, it's kind of one of the best bad movies ever. I keep forgetting he was on Roseanne. Cool. Let's see. The Ocean's sequels, Ocean's 12 and Ocean's 13 were both good. Perfect Storm he was great in. Three Kings. He played the Doctor in South Park Big Long Uncut, which I always keep forgetting about. The Thin Red Line, which was directed by Terrence Malick, he was good in. Let's see. The Spy Kids movies he was in. Intolerable Cruelty was alright. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? The Good German. He's worked with the Coen Brothers a whole lot too. Let's see. Syriana was okay. I mean, it wasn't great, but he was great in it. The Man Who Stared at Ghosts, which was not all that good to be honest with you. Fantastic Mr. Fox, directed by Wes Anderson. That's a good one. He was also in The American, which I know was kind of terrible. Tomorrowland, which lots of people did not like. I really enjoyed Tomorrowland. That movie was pretty fun. Speaking of the Coen Brothers, Hail Caesar was pretty decent. Yeah, his last feature film that he starred in was Money Monster, and that was like in 2016. Hopefully, he'll make some sort of film comeback, really, because I mean, he has that show Catch 22 on, but it'll be cool seeing him make some sort of movie comeback. I mean, he's always been great in film, so you should see what happens in the near future. Anyway, let me leave it to you guys. What are some of your favorite George Clooney movies? Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for more notifications. This here is Thomas L. signing off.